Hello everyone, welcome to the most improvised podcast episode ever. Anyways, this is episode 12 of Tice's Tech Track. First of all, my sincere apologies for the amount of background noise that's probably going to be picked up. I'm currently at a Starbucks recording this. I'm currently in Jakarta, Indonesia, and I don't really have a very nice, inspiring place to record this podcast, so I decided to do it from here. But now that I started, I'm not sure if this is the best idea. But let's dive in anyways, because it's been a very long time. It's been over a year since I recorded a podcast episode, and I think I published the last one in June last year. So it's been almost another year since I did another episode of this. Now, to recap a little bit what this podcast is about. So this podcast is about me documenting my journey through building online businesses and gaining financial independence and financial freedom, which would eventually, hopefully, lead me to be able to quit my day job. So yeah, the reason why I'm coming back right now is because I have quite a lot to catch you guys up on, and also because I'm also doing this, the main reason why I'm doing this is kind of for myself, to sort of document my journey. I hope one day I can listen back to these podcast episodes and sort of reminisce on the struggles, challenges that I've been going through with regards to trying to switch up my career in a very meaningful way. So that's maybe the first reason, and the second reason is because I have quite a lot to catch you all up on. There's been a lot of very interesting developments over the past year, and in this episode I kind of want to summarize everything that has happened over pretty much 2025, so all of that year 2025, and because I feel like this has been a very meaningful year for me. So I want to talk about the struggles that I had to deal with last year, or that I dealt with last year, as well as how I got out of it and what I've learned, basically. Because I would say that last year was a very big lesson, a very, very big year for my personal growth. And that's why I want to basically take this episode to talk about that. Now, I'm also going to call this episode 4 in the ongoing series about the megaproject, because 2025, a big reason why this was a very big personal development year for me, is because of that same megaproject. So there is kind of an extra addendum to the whole megaproject story. And if you want to know more about that megaproject story, you should definitely check out the previous 3 episodes of Tice's Tech Track, because that's where I introduce this huge project and take you on for the different developments. But those were mostly over the course of 2024. So to give you a quick recap of this project, the megaproject, which is it's kind of like an accounting/marketing tool for import-export businesses in China. So basically, this app's audience are people who make products in China and want to get more international customers. And what this app sort of provides is a very quick way to go from a customer selecting a few products, or actually it's a potential customer because it's not a customer yet, but a potential customer selecting a few products from your, say, inventory, and creating a personalized quotation sheet for them that they can then base decisions on whether they want to continue with you or not. So this project has quite a long history, a very long history. It's basically been, I would say, the biggest project that I've worked on by myself. I've created the code by myself, and this has also been a project that really taught me a lot of things about web development. I could say that this project is the project that I learned web development through, because this was sort of an ongoing thing for the last, I would say, 8 years or something like that. But then a couple years ago, this project kind of got into a bit of a standstill as I got my first job, and the contact between me and basically the thinker of this application sort of we didn't lose contact, but we both had different focuses. And so at the beginning of 2024, we decided to get back to working on this project and really giving it a big go. And so all of 2024, we worked pretty closely together towards a very specific moment, which was in October of 2024, where we decided to go to the Canton Fair to really promote this app. Now, my business partner and friend actually has a YouTube channel, and he vlogs his daily life a lot. And he actually made a few videos during our trip to China. So if you're interested, I will link them in the description below. You can check out some of his vlogs from this exact trip in October of 2024. I think they're quite nice videos, and I think they'll give you a nice picture of the things that we did, the things that we saw, and the things that we tried. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing that. So from when we decided to get back together, which was in around April of 2024, until October, basically in all of my free time, I worked on this application to get it to be in a better place than it was before. And I added a lot of functionality. Like I poured hundreds of hours into this project to make it look very good, very usable. And yeah, I really poured my heart into it for a stretch of like half a year, you could say. Then the climax came when we decided to go to the Canton Fair in October, which was a great trip. We had a lot of fun. It was also the first time we met again after quite a long time. I think it was a couple of years. We've met once before in person. But this trip was really focused on trying to promote this thing. And despite the fact that we did not really succeed in that, it was still a very good trip. I really look back on with a lot of joy because because even in this little trip we learned so many things. We learned so much about promotion and sales, and how to and also like learn a lot about the import-export world in China and how that all works with these like very big trade shows and that sort of stuff. And beside that, we also did a lot of traveling together. We went to Hangzhou, Shanghai. We went to like a lot of the big Chinese cities, and yeah, it was an overall very, very good trip. So during this trip, or I would say like at the end of the trip, we were at a peak state. Like the app was in a good place, and we could really start marketing this thing. But then some things happened, and I did talk about this in the last episode as well, because that was like at the start of last year. First off, I got engaged at that time. I proposed to my then girlfriend, which became my fiance and is now my wife. We got married at the start of this year, 2026, so that's very, very, very exciting. I'm officially a husband now, which is very, lots of responsibilities. I don't want to tire you with that story, but anyway, that's maybe for another day. But yeah, so that happened, and on my business partner's side, also some things happened. He decided to pursue his travel vlogging career a bit more, and so naturally this project got into the background of things. Also because for the wedding and some of our future plans, we just needed more income. So I actually went back from working part-time for my day job to working full-time. And personally, that was quite the blow. It took quite a long time to really process that. And that was mostly because of the fact that, I wanted to get away from this part-time job. Like the whole reason why I started to work on online businesses was with the goal to finally get away from this job. And now going from part-time, because at the time I was working part-time, back to working full-time was a very big blow, because that would basically mean the other way around. That I would be more dependent on this job than ever before. But yeah, it was kind of necessary because we just needed the finances. It was a decision that was a bit hard to take, but it was also a realization that, like with all the plans that we have, like for example, at the time we were still living in a rented apartment in Taiwan, and we decided to move away from that because we were also living on the countryside, and I was a little bit bored out of my mind there. So we wanted to move to the city, and at the time we still had the plans to move to the Netherlands, but in the end we decided to not do that and actually instead move to Jakarta first. Part of the reason being that the cost of living here is lower, but now looking forward a little bit longer, our plan is to actually buy a house here. So me going back to part-time work is not really going to happen anytime soon, unless some of the online business things are going to work out. And I'm still working on that on the side. Don't worry about that. The dream is definitely still on. But anyways, back to last year. So the start of last year was a very difficult period for me personally because of all of these changes, right? Like from going to where we were very convinced that this application could really succeed and that there was a lot of potential, to basically a place where this dream felt more out of reach than ever before. And it definitely hit me personally. There were a couple of months, I would say, between February of last year until July or August of that same year, I was really not feeling well. Like I was having depressive symptoms even, like waking up very late and trying to postpone waking up. So like staying in bed until into the afternoon hours, only waking up around maybe 2 or 3 p.m. And because I was working from a Dutch company and I was living in Asia, the morning meeting would be around 3 p.m. So I had no reason to wake up before that time anyways. So, and my fiance at the time was working a job that was also until like 3 a.m. in the morning. So she would usually start around 9 p.m. or something like that in the evening, work until 3 a.m., after which I would pick her up. We would talk a little bit, eat a little bit, because of course after we both stop working we cannot go straight to sleep. But we then slept at dawn, usually like around 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. And then the whole cycle started again. So those days I was feeling very, I just had very little energy, very little motivation for anything. I was going back to working full-time, but my performance wasn't very good. I just basically did what I had to do. But I always had this feeling that I was just trying to hold my head above water, and it was very hard to do so. Like it just really felt like I was trying to keep everything sort of like afloat, but I just couldn't. Like I really did not feel the motivation to work full time. And but I had to, because with all the future plans that we were having. But yeah, I also had this immense pressure from my personal self that right now I'm already, like at the time I was 25, right? So like I was already halfway through my 20s. And I definitely wanted to succeed in my 20s. You know what I mean? Like after 30, when you're succeeding after that, there's basically no way. That was the way that I was thinking at the time. Like I was thinking that time was running out and motivation was running out. I was basically holding up all of these things, all of these expectations, and they were weighing heavy on me. But most of these expectations were laid on me by myself. Like there was no external person that really laid expectations on me. I was basically putting those expectations on myself. And I think part of it is a good thing, but it can become toxic at a certain moment. And at this moment, it was definitely becoming a toxic relationship between me and my expectations of myself, basically. So, yeah, I don't really look back with much happiness on this time. It was also a bit chaotic because within, I would say, half a year, we flew between Asia and the Netherlands 3 times. So the first time was in winter time. So at that time, like 2024, 2025, around that time, we were in the Netherlands for 2 months. That was a very great period because I just came back from that trip in China and we were still riding that high of just like thinking that this application is going to work out and everything like that. The second time was in March because we had a wedding of my cousin in the Netherlands, and also my fiance at the time was joining me as well. So we enjoyed a bit of spring weather in the Netherlands and a few good times. Like it was definitely, the wedding was very nice, first of all, and a bit of an inspiration for our wedding that we were going to have a year later. But yeah, on the background, I was still definitely weighed down by my personal expectations. And then the third time I came to the Netherlands by myself, and this was because my company had a 10-year anniversary, and they basically invited all of the colleagues that were working there to go on a quote-unquote summer holiday to Spain. And so with a little bit of asking, like if I could join the party as well, they helped me buy a flight to the Netherlands and then also to Spain. So that was really, really cool. That was a very nice surprise. Also because my parents had no idea I would come back to the Netherlands at that time. There's a very funny video of my mom just being in total shock that I was back in the Netherlands because I just basically didn't tell them. I kept it as a surprise. And so that was very good. But in the background, definitely, in the moments that most people did not see, I was not doing well. Like, I was really not feeling like I wanted to do anything. And I would say, like, this May trip was very bad for that part of me. And so yeah, I would say May was pretty rough, and it sort of like carried out until like June, July. Taiwan had a pretty rough typhoon season in July. They had a pretty big typhoon coming over the place where I was living. And so there was a day where I kind of like really wanted to get out of the house so that I could work a little bit better, just like have a bit of motivation to be outside. But there were like tree branches everywhere, and the road was a mess at the time. I remember that that was somewhere in July. And yeah, it just wasn't a fun time. I don't know if I regret it, but maybe I regret it a little bit because I was just really weighing myself down. And the only reason I was doing it is because, you know, like I just basically had all of these expectations that I put on myself. And, you know, like I think that being so constricted by wanting things to be different is not a very healthy way to live, you know. Because you cannot change the things that are, you know what I mean? Like, I kept thinking, like, oh, at this point I should have already been able to quit my job. At this point I shouldn't be having to work this job, you know? Like, I had this feeling of just things being unjust and things not being lined up with where I thought I would be. And I was really weighing myself down by that. It got really bad when I started to compare myself with other people that were my age and quote-unquote already had made it. Like, I remember going on Twitter. Twitter was the worst during this time. Me going on Twitter was a guarantee that my happiness would fall from normal levels to, like, all the way down to the bottom. Because there were all these people that had made it. Like, for example, Peter Levels, I had mentioned him before on this podcast. I really looked up to his success and how he made it. But I kept comparing to these people that were living in totally different situations than I was. And it took quite a long time to get to the realization that this was not good and that I had to change my attitude. But then something changed. And this was in August of 2025. I did something that I'm very, very proud of. So to kind of give you a picture, in August of 2025, we went back to Indonesia, to Jakarta, to do a bit more preparation for our wedding. Oh yeah, by the way, the wedding was also a very big expectation thing, right? Like, because like my family already told me that if we were gonna get married in Indonesia, they would all come. So there was also this expectation of like having a very good wedding. And so that was also part of things that were weighing down. But it wasn't so bad when we were living in Taiwan because we couldn't really prepare a lot of things about the wedding. But when we were in Indonesia, we were fully focused on doing wedding preparations as well. And so we were back in Indonesia for a little bit, and you know, I was still sort of like processing this whole thing because on the side, like I was already working full time at the time, but on the side I did still have some trickles of free time, of course. And but I was very scatterbrained. I was very much like I really wanted to make this personal business work, so I was sort of like not deciding based on rationale, but sort of like more based on emotion. So I was going, for example, I went back to the travel map application. I really wanted to like promote it and that sort of stuff. And there was also this graduation photo shoot app that I built. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that before, but that was like an AI generated, so like picture generator. Very much like an idea that was taken from some other like AI avatar generators. And I really like tried to sort of like push this in a certain way that wasn't very healthy, leading to a moment where like I was pushing this graduating photo shoot application, but I was not pushing it in a very good way. Like I was sort of like concealing, like I was pushing this on Reddit to say like, oh, I found this photo shoot thing and I think it's very good, but people were very easy to find out that that was my product of myself. And so there was one comment that was very much on the nose saying like, oh, I see that you are trying to promote this in this way, but I now see you through, and this makes me not want to trust anything that you put out at all. And I think that was a very big moment for me, because one of my true values is being honest and being true and being integer, I think is that a word? And so this was a very big ego sort of like setback. Because like, what am I doing? You know, like I wasn't doing this in the right way at all. But it weighed pretty heavily on me all the time. So I was very scatterbrained. I was very, you could almost call it like heartbroken. It's a very similar feeling to being heartbroken and just like being in this mental chaos of just not knowing what to do next. Like you kind of want to go back, but you kind of don't. You just don't really know what you're trying to do. And this sort of like kept reminiscing because I have been thinking of going back to this application, this China application that we were riding such an high on in the year before, and continuing on that. But there was something holding me back, which was fear. Fear was holding me back mostly. But I would say that in August of last year, we were back in Jakarta, Indonesia. And the year before, I had been to a trade show in Jakarta to sort of like test the waters, try things out. You know, we hadn't created like a full version of our app yet, which we plan to launch or promote in China in October at the time. But I was also in Indonesia in August of the year before, and I had been to this exact same trade show once just to like test the waters and talk to some people. At this time, and this was at the exact same time of the year, and this exact same trade show was going on again. And the reason I knew that is because I remember seeing these banners on the side of the roads that this trade show was going on again. And I was just thinking, like, I mean, this is such a small step to take. Like, I could just go to this trade show, pitch my idea again of this app, and, just try this out again. That was the thing that I was thinking. Because after our big high of October of the year before, where we went to the China trade show, there were a few things that I wanted to try out. Like, for example, the first thing was that at that time, we hadn't had a set pricing yet. So we didn't have pricing, or not really like a full-on offer yet. So we were just like promoting our app, and we were asking people to try it out for free because we needed some beta users. But the problem was that like not a lot of people trusted us, and they were like, what are you guys doing? And so I was thinking that if we already have like a pricing and a proper offer in place, then we would come over as a lot more trustworthy than before. So I wanted to try this out. And so I made a very, very makeshift, because I only decided to go to the trade show maybe like 4 days before it was supposed to happen. I made a very, very makeshift offer with like a very arbitrary price that I sort of like felt was a good price for this app. And I just tried it again. I went to the trade show by myself this time. Talk about overcoming your fears. I'm currently at the Indonesian Jexpo. And today they have two shows. One is electronic, one is gifts and home decor. Yesterday I created an offer, and I dusted up the app a little bit, and I'm here to try things again. It's currently 9:52, I'm drinking my first coffee, and the nerves are racing through my body. But in a good way, I guess. This is all about facing your fears and doing what you most want to do. We're just trying to make this work. I'm here, and we're going to give it a try. So let's see how this is going to be. Wish me luck. Which was something I was very scared of before. I think that was one of the things that made me feel so worried or so difficult, is because I had to overcome a fear. I had to overcome this fear of going to the trade show myself. Because I had a feeling in the background that I was able to do it, but I just didn't dare to. I didn't dare to take this step. I don't really know why. Maybe I was scared that I was going to be judged by my business partner, who at the time was pursuing his own career. But that should not hold you back from doing something that you really think you want to do and you think is a good thing to do. Because what I also noticed from this trip to the Canton Fair last year is that I actually kind of like know what I'm talking about. Like, I really came in as a newbie into this whole import-export world, but because I had already gone to the Canton Fair 2 times, like one time in April and then one time again in October, I kind of knew my way around. I kind of knew how it worked. I kind of knew how the deals were being made, and I sort of like already had a feeling for this place, but I just wasn't confident enough to do this on my own. But this day, on August 9th, when I went to the Canton Fair by myself, that changed, because I really felt like by just going into that fear, I could do it again. And it was pretty crazy, because I went to the show, right? I had my very makeshift offer, and I was able to really sell the program like as good as we did it before, but I would say maybe even better. Like, I was able to sell it, and I was able to really like tell the people about the benefits of it, and they were all very convinced that this was a very good app and that they should definitely use it. Alright, here's a little update. I think this is going to work out. I'm so happy. Just met someone, and he was just very interested. We didn't close on the spot because he has to discuss it with his team. But he saw the value in it. He saw the value. He thinks it's going to save him a lot of time, and it's going to work out. This is insane. Oh my god, this is crazy. I really think this is going to work out. All right, I'm going to continue for a bit. Hopefully we can close someone on the spot. That would be best. But they want to discuss it with their team. I'm so excited. Shit. This is cool. And so even after like 2 or 3 conversations, which are just like top notch, you know, people that were really like, oh, I really need this. I think this is a really good app. I should really use this. I called up my business partner, because I was like, I have to tell him now. Because up until that point, the whole makeshift offer that I created with that make arbitrary pricing, I never told him. And so I called him up right on the spot, like during lunchtime or something like that, when I had my coffee. And I said, this can be a very big thing. And he sort of knew that he was also being a bit negligent on the project, right? And he felt a little bit guilty because of it. He already said that to me last year. But this was sort of like saying to him, like, oh, I should really start working on this. And this is also a good example of that. You cannot do everything by yourself. Even though like I was the one that decided to get back to the show and get back to trying this out, I wasn't the one that was responsible for my success, because on this first day I was just getting a lot of like good reactions, but I did not get any sales on the spot yet. That's actually very difficult to do. I learned at that moment, because people that were at these shows were usually not the bosses of the factories. You know, like these people are usually the sales reps that are just paid just to be there, but they have no decision-making ability. So they were just very excited for the app. They really loved it, but they couldn't use it because they had to convince their boss, and they, you know, that's a different objective, or different a whole different league to break into. But I did land my first customer for this app at this trade show. It was the day after, because my fiance also was working as a sales rep for one of these factories. She was acting as like a translator. And so she, like, I pitched the same product to her employer, you could say, like the boss of like a toy factory and like a baby product factory in China. And he liked the idea at the beginning, but he wasn't fully convinced yet. But the thing is that he had exactly the problem that this application was trying to solve, because if customers were coming to their booth and they were asking for prices, they had to flip through like a whole list of tables of different like items to find the right price. Let alone like things like dimension information, like packing information, was just very difficult to find. And this app was trying to make all of that easier. So every time that would happen at their booth, my fiance would talk to the boss saying like, oh, you should probably try this app out because it's really going to help you out. And so that made him convinced. And the next day he actually paid, and he made a 3-month subscription for the app, which was some money. Like it was about like $200 or something like that. So I was I was in ecstasy when that happened. That was really great. But it wasn't me. It was my fiance helping me out with that. So great help from her there. And I was very happy with that news. And I think that final was really like a very big motivation and confidence boost of like, okay, I can really do this. I can really pull this off. I don't necessarily need someone else, like a business partner or anything else, really. You know, like I was just making excuses of like not being able to do this. But I was able to do it. You know, right on this moment, I was able to land my first customer for this app. And so that was a huge motivation and a huge confidence boost at the time. And that moment definitely got me out of my slog a little bit. It got me out of that long period of time where I was just feeling depressed and out of control. I think that was also a very big one, is that I was just feeling out of control. Like I wasn't feeling that I was in control of my success. And this moment definitely taught me that, yes, I am in control. I just have to face my fears. That's all. Like I just have to jump through whatever I'm fearful for and give it the best I can, because that's all I can do. I can only give it the best I can. And so from this moment, I decided in October, I'm just going to go to the Canton Fair myself. I'm going to have to do it because I've worked so hard for this app. I've poured so many hours into this. I've poured my soul into this app. It would be a shame if I did not go out there and try to promote it, even if it was by myself. And so over the next, I think like about 3 months, we did a few more like wedding preparations when we were in Indonesia. But we also went back to Taiwan for a period of about 2 months before that China trip. But I just decided to do a few last preparations, like the most important things. But first of all was the pricing. Just implement like a pricing page, as well as making pricing work. And there were a few concerns that were raised at the previous Canton Fair, as well as at this fair in Jakarta, which was security. A lot of people didn't feel that their data was secure with us, because like you have to put in all of your item information into our system, and they were scared that we were going to sell that information to other factories or something like that. And so just to the website, I added like a little clause, and I also encrypted all of the item information on the database level. I didn't go like full encryption because that's just too much, but I decided to go for that. Just make like these tiny but very important changes to make me feel confident to try to sell this application again at the next Canton Fair. And so I took the leap. In October of last year, I went by myself. My fiance would follow at some point after about a week of me being there by myself. She would come, and she would, and she also would work for the same factory that she was working for in the Indonesian fair. She would also be their translator or their salesperson at the trade show now. So she would get like a little bit of money from that, which is always nice. And we would be able to spend some time together, and she would also be able to help me promote the app or think about some things to do in any way, shape or form. So yeah, then in October of 2025, I did what I just could not see I would ever be able to do. Like I would see this as like some impossible thing to do just a couple months before, but I did anyways. I was facing my fears and going to China to promote this application by myself. Well, day 2 is here, and things are moving quick. Yesterday, I think, was a pretty crazy day. I went to the show for a bit, I think I only did my pitch twice. And in both cases, these people were super interested. During the show, I sat down for I think more than an hour trying to optimize our email that we send out to these people as well. Just to fine tune that sort of stuff. And I did a bit of coding to make sure that the demo PDF that these people are getting is a bit nicer and a bit more polished. And yeah, I did some other really fun experiments. Like for example, one of the features that wasn't fully implemented yet, but I think could be very powerful, is give each item a little QR code that you can look up the item on the app and add it exactly right there and right then to the quote. So on the first day when I was in China, I was in Guangzhou, I zipped around the city to try to find this little QR code label thing, and I pasted it on my power bank that I'd brought with me, and just made that part of the demo that I would do for people. And already I remember on the first day I just did a few pitches to people, but I already had some ideas or that I could be able to improve a few things to the app right there right then that really could improve my pitch and stuff like that. Make a little bit of a better demo PDF file for people that they would receive in their email. And I also added the functionality to share the PDF quotation not only via email but also via something like WeChat, because I noticed that a lot of the communication between factories and customers now goes through WeChat as well. So yeah, I was in a very nice state because I really enjoyed that process of just trying things out, seeing that something could be a little bit better, and then implementing it right on the spot. It felt like it felt like a superpower of some sort, like it felt very powerful and very interesting to do. And that was a very fun couple of days that I spent at the show, really trying to promote my application. So for the first couple of days I was riding a very nice high. I couldn't really follow up with people because all of these people were very busy setting things up at the show. So the follow-up would only happen probably like after the show, like a week after or 2 weeks after, where I could really go ahead and make deals and that sort of stuff. So this was just like pitching things and seeing people's reaction. Some reactions were very good, but some reactions were also a little bit like they had a few concerns and stuff like that. That's why it was actually so cool to do this at the show, because you just had your target audience right there in one big space. And these trade shows are very big, like they're very large, so you have a lot of different people that you can just pitch to. And maybe the pitch doesn't go well for one person, but maybe it goes great for another person. This also really taught me about not thinking in terms of scarcity. Like if you were thinking that one pitch was going very bad, that you sort of like screwed up or something, which is totally not true. Because, the next person, you can just try again and you can try something new. So that was also a very cool thing to learn. So that was the first phase of the show. Also, one of my friends from Australia that I ever interviewed on Tice's Tech Talk was also in Guangzhou at the time. So we spent some time together, and he sort of like became my, how would you call that? Sort of like my guru in some ways, because I would always talk to him about any of the developments that were going on. Like I remember in the beginning, like after the first day that I went to the show, and I was riding such a high because like I had such good reactions from people that I was talking to him, and I was like, man, I think this can really be a successful thing. He was basically there throughout the whole process, which was very interesting. I should probably interview him on it and how he looked at me during that little 2-week period that I was in Guangzhou. But anyway, so that was basically the first phase of the trip, was me doing the pitches and all of that, and it was very nice to do, and I learned a lot. Like I made some improvements to the app. I even used the app myself to keep account of all the customers that I had approached, because my app can also save customer information, so I could scan someone's business card and I have their information right there, right then, and I could just use my own app to send them an email about how this app should work or how this app could work for them. That was phase 1. Then phase 2 was when my fiance at the time arrived, and we planned to visit the factory of her employer, basically her boss. The factory was about I think it was like a 2-hour train ride from Guangzhou. So we met up at the train station, and we rode the train for 2 hours to Shantou, which is a little bit to the east of Guangzhou. And that was a very different part of China that we saw right there, because the factory was it wasn't in a city center or anything like that. Like it was in a pretty, I wouldn't say rural place, but it was a very countryside, small town kind of place. And so it was very interesting to see a totally different side of China. But very cool as well, because I'd never really visited a Chinese factory before. So we visited the factory, and I could really see how, for example, how this packing is being done, inner boxes, outer boxes, all of the things that we use in the app to calculate this quotation sheet. I could see the physical parts of it. I could see it physically being performed, being packed up, and items being built, being assembled in the moment right there. And it really made me realize all of the things that we buy in shops, they've all been assembled by someone. And I never really realized that until this moment when we went to this factory and I saw these people. There was one person assembling these I think it was baby teethers on this cardboard thing with the branding on it. I saw them doing one by one by one, and you never really think about it, but yeah, there is someone assembling all of those things, which is really crazy. And because this employer was my customer, my goal was for them to use the app and see the value of the app. That was one of the most important things, I think, for this China trip, was for them to really use it and see the benefit of it. So we went all out. My business partner helped me out from America, because he was in America at the time, to input all of their data, because all of their item data has to be inputted into the app for it to work properly. We even went as far as to print out the little labels for all of their products as well, so that the whole system could work. the scanning of the item could work, so that we could pull up the information and create the quotations like that. So yeah, they got a premium treatment because, like, looking at the business model, like this wouldn't be very viable to us to do this to all of our customers. Like, this just wouldn't be possible, you know. But we did it for them because they were our first customer, and we really wanted them to see the value of the app. But unfortunately, I would say that we did not succeed. And this was where the high went back down again, because they were going to the show for the third phase. So this was like I arrived at Canton Fair at the start of the second phase, and then in between phases we went to the factory in Shantou, and then we went back with them with all of their samples that they were gonna show at the Canton Fair. We helped set the booth up with them. It's not all of the products are in there, but most of them are. So most of the products are inside of it. But like these bento boxes are not. They have a different... What is it? They have a different system for those. And for these, they have already written down like their own price. So here's the QR code for us. So there are quite a few here. Yeah, I guess there's still communication there, which no problem. And I pasted all of these QR codes for them on every item, so they were completely set up and ready to go. All of the difficult objects, which was like inputting all of this item data, was all done for them. I did it myself, like, you know, a couple hours time to do that. But yeah, in the end, they did not use it. They did not use it. Like, it was a really bittersweet to swallow, because that also made me realize that it was actually probably going to be a lot harder to sell this thing than we initially thought. Because what would happen is they would be standing at their booth, and they had already had their own stickers prepared with like a handwritten price on it. So they already had their handwritten prices of all the stickers. And also their booth was shared between two different factories. So there was this other guy that I also talked to, and he also really liked my app. But he had his own products that were not inside of our system because he didn't send his price list to me. There was only from the baby product factory. They sent us their price list that I could put in the app. But this would mean that half of the products of the booth were not even in the app, which would already render this project to be a little bit like difficult, because what if a customer wanted a product that was in the app and a product that was not in the app? Like, it would already be a very difficult thing to do. So that was a real bummer. My fiance was using the app at the time. Like, she was using the app like crazy. And every time, because like it was the same thing, right? Like, someone would come up, someone would ask the price, they had to go through, like, flip through some kind of like book, and my fiance was just scanning it, already knew the price. And like this guy, like the other sales reps that are like part of the factory, they would look at her and they're like, oh yeah, this is the price, you know. But they weren't using the app, and it's so sad, a little bit sad. Like, no quote was sent from them to any of their customers, so they just did not see the value of the app. And so at some point, like, I also had this other lead that was also very interested in my app, and I wanted to give them a demo, and they were also in Shantou, so I would like almost go to their factory, but they were like pretty far out. And then I just started thinking, like, well, if we really wanted to make this successful, then I cannot keep doing this. You know, like, this is too much work. This is too much effort just to convert one customer. And I already went all the way with this one customer, and even then they did not convert. You know, even then they did not see the value of the app. Even though I still, to the core, believe that this app is super valuable. And so that was quite a big realization. A little bit of a bitter pill to swallow. I remember meeting up with Cody at the, I think it was the second or the third day of the third phase of the Canton Fair. So this is after, you know, we tried everything. We tried everything to make these people use the app, but they just didn't use it. And I remember telling the whole story to Cody, and he was kind of like, because I was like in a bit of a lull situation at the moment, and he was kind of like, well, did you already try 100 times? You know, there's like this notion of not letting your emotions control your actions, but just trying it 100 times, shut off your mind, shut off your emotional base, and just go for it. Just try to pitch this thing again. And so the next day I sort of like recaught myself, and I went again and I pitched this app as much as I could, but I did not have any expectation. So I just did not have any expectation of like, oh, this is going to succeed or not. I was just going to have fun because I really like this sales project. Like, I really like selling my app that I created myself and just having as many people as possible see the value of what I created. That was the highest goal. Like, the goal kind of changed. In the beginning, it was like I really wanted to succeed. Afterwards, it was like I just want to do the best I can to let people see this app. Because in the end, that is all you can do. You can only do the best you can do. And anything less is not good, but you can do the best you can, right? So like the last 2 days of the third phase, I just spent going out there, hitting the pavement, talking to as many people as I could, and trying to pitch this app. And the reaction overall was pretty much always the same. They loved it. They loved the idea. They really wanted to integrate it into their system, but they all had the same problem that I ran into with this factory of like having to input all of your items into our system and having to do like a lot of like admin related stuff. It was actually a very nice quote from the wife of the business partner, because my business partner's wife was in China, was in Guangzhou at the time, because she's also an import-export person. And she said something like, you're trying to sell the iPhone while the world is still using the BlackBerry. And I really like this quote, because she was like, yeah, this app is great. Like, I would love to use it. But the problem is that people already have these very strict routines themselves. Like, they already have these very established routines of how they manage these things. And in order to like change that up is difficult. It takes a lot of work to do that, because like someone's routine, especially in a high stakes environment like the Canton Fair, where you're spending like 5 days and you're really not allowed anything to go wrong, it's very difficult to do that. It's very difficult to sell them a product where they basically have to change their whole routine up, and hopefully they'll be able to get more customers. But of course, that's not a guarantee, right? So, like if we really wanted to make this success, first of all, I would have to spend a lot more time in China, because I'd really have to go to like factories and do this when the Canton Fair is not going on, basically. And I would also probably have to hire people, because you would have to have some kind of trust. Like if I'm the only person working on this, it's going to be very difficult for me to let Chinese people trust this Westerner that claims to know their business better than themselves. So it's a very difficult position to be in, really. And so you would have to generate some trust within China. And to be fair, the only way to really get that done is you would have to find like investors, find people that can back your startup, and you can really get, a team of people that would help you out, doing all the legal stuff, like getting the app in all of the Chinese app stores, which I already really tried my best to do. And but yeah, it was just a lot of work, and at this point, it's just not very viable. Especially also considering my situation of moving to Indonesia and getting married. So after this second China trip, I went home, but I didn't go home defeated at all. Like, I did not feel like I had failed. I mean, I had failed. I had failed on the original goal of making something succeed, but I did go home with a different sense of self. Like, I definitely feel like after that second China trip, I really feel like I am in control of my future. Like I can really change something up, because I just did something that not a lot of people dare to do. Not a lot of people dare to go to China by themselves, promoting an app that they think can change the world. Like or change the import-export world, whatever it is. So that's huge. Like, that was a very big thing, and up until this moment, I still feel very, very confident. Like, and it's pretty crazy, because I was working full time and I was really having a difficult time finding motivation to work. Right, I don't have that anymore. I can work on my day job and feel fully motivated for the whole day. Like, sometimes I'm not, of course. Like, when you're doing a tedious job or something like that. But I have this thought in my mind that anything I set my mind to, I could make it work. I could do the best I can, and I know that at some point something is hopefully going to happen. So yeah, that's the story of this mega app and the place where it's at right now. It's definitely at a bit of a standstill. So I'm still talking with my business partner every now and then. Like, we don't talk that much right now. I think he's still quite busy with his work. But yeah, that's been a very, very big journey. And I also look back on the second time to the Canton Fair with a very positive light, because like I really felt like during this trip I really did the best I could. Like I really did everything I could. I shared my app and it might have made someone's day. I definitely got one interaction with someone that was like so convinced that he was like, yeah, this is very, very good. But again, even this factory, it wasn't a big factory, like it was a very small factory, but I could really see that he was probably a factory owner that really felt the competition the biggest, and he just didn't have the tools at hand to make his sales pipeline better, and he just could see that this app could really help him. But I was kind of like, well, I could follow up with him, but just to convert this one customer again, it's just going to be very difficult at this moment. So yeah, we need some kind of investment or just time and focus, to make this work. And I decided to shift that focus for the time being to something else. The biggest next project on my list, you could say, was the marriage, of course, which was in January of this year. That was very successful. That was like a great wedding. I could really enjoy it fully. I did not feel I had any expectations that I was putting on myself or anything like that. I could really enjoy this wedding. And I think that my family really enjoyed it as well, which was very good. I had about 15 people coming from the Netherlands for my wedding, which is a great gift. Even my grandma and my other grandma and grandpa came, who were around like 80 years old, so that was a huge thing. And we not only had them enjoy the wedding, but we also went to Bandung, which is like a little bit of like a naturey area in central Java, with my family. We rented like a big bus and spent a couple of days at a nice villa there. And it was a very, very good trip. It was amazing. It was really amazing having them here. The wedding also really went, I would almost say, above expectations. But the thing is, like, at this point I just didn't have expectations anymore, because I kind of like learned that I shouldn't give myself too many expectations. Like, I can only do my best, right? So I did my best for this wedding, and my wife also did her best for the wedding. And so it came to be a very, very nice wedding. Like, we had a church service, which is on my TravelingTice YouTube channel, so if you're interested, you can check it out. And we had some songs that, like church songs, that had an Indonesian version and also a Dutch version. So we like merged the two versions together. We're like, you first sung the Indonesian part and then you sung the Dutch part and everything. And it just came together so nicely. Like, it was exactly sort of like what I wanted to portray, because this was like a love language or a love story, not just between two people, but also between two cultures, because I really like learning cultures, and I think that this trip was a great example for that, or this spirit was a great example for that. So had a very, very successful wedding, and I'm kind of thankful that I went through the rough year for me of 2025 to basically, learn these things, to have a certain attitude and a certain mindset that I can really enjoy things like this again. So that was very good. And the second thing is that we're trying to find a house now here in Jakarta, Indonesia. So we have actually found a house, and we're currently talking with the owner. We kind of like have some things going on. So, but the house that we're wanting to get is going to be a house that we really need to renovate fully. Like, we even want to build like a second story on top of this house. Like, this house is just like a one-story house, and we want to build like a second story on top of it. So that's another project that's going to probably take a couple of months before that's like fully finished. And until that moment, we're at my parents' lot, which is totally fine. Like, it's a nice house. It's just a little bit small, but it's fine. So in the meantime, I'm still working full-time, and I'll probably be working full-time for some time to come. But I don't know, like, I feel okay to do it in some ways. It's also interesting because I've been working at this company for about 6 years now. So I'm very, very familiar with everything that's going on in this company, and I definitely feel like after this China trip, I've become more confident to, I don't know, like sort of like get my way a bit more and really work on things that I want to work on at the company. And I think that my boss also sees that. So, it's been a successful and a very positive thing in both ways, right? Like I really feel like I can do my best for them, and it's sort of like still worth it, and I can also still work on my own things on the side. Now, one of the things that I'm also working on the side is a new app. Yes, I'm working on a new app that hopefully I can promote a bit better from home. It's a live translation app, so it's basically a live interpreter. Just like, for example, if you have like a conference or something, someone is speaking in a certain language, and then usually you have someone in the back doing like the live translation. This app is trying to do that automatically with the help of AI. So that's the app I'm building right now. It's called Live Interp. I will link it below. I'm not sure if the website is going to be done by the time this launches, but this is basically my next project that I've decided to sink my teeth in. The use case came actually from my wedding, because we were going to have this church service in Indonesia, right? And the pastor only spoke Indonesian. And like my Dutch family was kind of like, well, we cannot understand anything. So I was like, well, you know what? Let me just try to build an app for you then that would do the live translation. I know there's probably something out there that does something similar. And I did do some research on it, but I could not find a really good and easy to use one. So I decided to build one myself, and the first version was really just for this use case of Indonesian translating into Dutch and English, and then the voice that would speak would be an AI voice. So like that would be like a Dutch AI voice speaking. And I created this first version. In the end, did not decide to use it at my wedding. The main reason was that the church had actually arranged an interpreter already. So there was like a person standing next to the pastor when the preachings was going on, like all of the talking, and they would already translate it into English. And I was kind of like, well, this app could only really work if someone is only speaking one language at a time. So I was like, well, you know what, let's not use this at the moment, but I'm still going to launch this thing. So it's already become like I don't know, like I think I started working on this in December. Right now it's end of March, so it's already been like about 4 months. Of course, the wedding took a lot of time away from working on this, but the past month or so I've been like fully working on this again. Right now I'm adding as many languages as this thing can sort of like support. So I'm currently adding the Korean language, and I'm testing this out by like watching a YouTube video in this specific language and then using like earphones in like in my phone, and it works pretty well. Like it's not perfect. It's not as good as having a person doing it, but it's not too bad, you know. Like, and I think that for a lot of cases this might actually be a handy app. So this is like more of like an all-purpose app for translation. And also the cool thing is I really like languages. So if this does end up being an app that is successful, then that'll be very cool, because then I could like keep working on translations and that sort of stuff. So that's my next project. And again, I'm really pouring my heart and soul into it. But I do try to keep my expectations at bay, because I know that this can fail as well, you know. So I do try to keep it sort of like somewhat minimal, but I do want this app to be really good. So I'm really doing the best I can, because that's all I can do. And let's see how this is gonna go. Let's see how this app is gonna go. I'll definitely let you know when it launches. I hope that it launches somewhere in April-ish, maybe. But I still have to like put it on the App Store and stuff like that. So there's still quite some work to be done. But that's the next thing that I'm currently working on. So let's see how that goes. And but yeah, I definitely feel a lot more confident than last year. Confident in myself, confident in my abilities, and I really do think that something is going to happen. And whether it's going to be this year, whether it's going to be in 3 years, I don't know. But I'll keep you up to date, because I'll keep working hard. And let's just see. But anyways, that was the mega project. I think this is going to be the last episode of the mega project series, because I think that this project is going to be at a pause for quite some time. But let's see. So anyways, I hope there wasn't too much background noise for this episode. And I don't know. I felt like I was a little bit scatterbrained during this episode, but it was a bit of an impromptu attempt at recording this. But I hope you got the gist of it, and I hope that you enjoyed listening as much as possible. And I think it was a pretty okay episode nonetheless. So thank you so much for listening to this one. All the best, and probably see you in a couple of months when the next episode drops. So, all right, see you later. Bye bye.